Day audience on the Battleship Iowa National Museum Surface Navy. We're in the Associated Foundations Training Center, which is in memory of Barry Herlihy. And 2 days ago, we were blessed to have the Fusno Foundation come down here, which is one of our great supporters and supported this training center early on. And, you know, this is Jonathan Williams. I'm the president and CEO. Everybody knows who I am because, of course, as we were just talking before we came on the show, this is all about me. But with that being said, I missed the last two episodes, and I think they were great episodes. We highlighted the whole preservation comments on Sullivan's that Mike Getcher took on, and then of course we had April 19th and some veterans involved too. So that was a great segment into that. So where we're going to head from this point forward is we're really going to talk about who we are and talk about our crew and what this means to each of us and kind of what we do, and we'll take on things as we go about it. We're smack dab in the middle of Fleet Week planning, and we're also in a lot of preservation and maintenance of the ship. And I think as we start this out, we'll take on the maintenance of the ship, and then we're going to head into George Musulin, who's our electrician and quite a personality. So we'll see how he adapts on the personality side of this podcast and see if he's invited back. But of course, I'm joined in the room by the normal team. We've got our producer Moran. What do we nickname you yet? The Schooner, the Woodship Girl. I don't know what you are.
I don't think you said either of those things.
The Scuttlebutt.
Skater has such a wonderful double entendre for
keel hauler.
sailors.
Keel hauler, that's what you were saying.
Keel hauler. And then of course we got
rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, we got Mike. I forgot what
nuts
we call
and bolts.
Yeah, nuts and bolts. We got nuts and bolts, the engineer, and then we got token veteran.
He's Sparky,
which is David. Oh, Sparky. George is Sparky in the room.
Kyle? Kyle doesn't have a nickname yet.
We'll make one.
He keeps us balanced. And of course, we got the world famous Kyle Abby, who keeps us balanced.
Kyle is balanced. I like Tech Guy better than Token.
We'll call him Toledo, the scale guy.
Tweedo, the scale guy. So I'm going to start this out really quick and talk about a little bit about ships. You had hull preservation. Of course, everybody across the world has seen the Sullivans, and I guess it's been righted at this point.
Right.
And I start this out because our guest today really worked in shipyards for a lot of years. And so kind of lay that conversation out and kind of talk about your background. But, let's talk about the Sullivans that you brought up. It's thin hull. I guess it's refloated now. Not sure where they're going with it.
Not sure either. They had, I can only see the actual media reports, right? So it was righted. They're going through the inside now, of course, and cleaning it up. But the report that I read said it had 54 holes in the hull.
Wow.
And I don't know what that means. It's going to be a plate problem. The destroyer of that era, the thickest plate it had was about a half an inch of steel, and the thinnest was less than 1/4 of an inch. And that was in 1943 when she was launched. So there's some real problems with a hull that long in the water.
So I would assume construction techniques of those ships, even into the 40s of the destroyers versus a battleship or even a carrier, may carry through the Russian ships that are sinking. Maybe lesser quality steel in some of the few museum ships we've lost.
Well, the Russian ship had some assistance, didn't it?
Well, I think it had a drone.
That was a missile.
Yeah. Can we play with drones in here?
A very assisting missile.
Yeah, they had some assistance, I thought.
Actually, that would be great. I could start using a drone as a management technique.
The problem is
we think about people, and
most people.
I feel like you're everywhere already.
When you say drone, most people think of the little quadcopter, and you're thinking of the Predator with the missiles on it. So
I need people out. I need little like darts. What is it? That James Bond movie with the blow darts?
There you go. Get back to work.
What are you doing? Stop looking at Facebook. So and the construction techniques, I think, we're starting to see some of these challenges with ships, and I think addressing that's going to be a big issue. But with that said, I'm going to turn to George at this point. So George, you work on this ship, and what is you built ships at Todd Shipyard?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, and thank you for having me here this morning. Yes, I've been working in the shipyard since 1978, and we were building guided missile frigates at Todd Shipyard into the 80s. And so I got to see how they put them together. They put them on a ways before they're launched, and from the keel up, they build it. And during my time, it was called HY80. Was the type of steel that they used on the hulls.
Yeah, there's an analogous material here on this ship I can talk to too.
What does HY80 mean?
High
High
yield,
yes.
80,000 psi tensile strength.
Hey, yo.
So we have 3 different types of steel on the ship. Yeah, a nominal mild steel, which is kind of like the A36 of the day, of today, which is 36,000 psi tensile strength. They had a high tensile strength HTS steel in the 40s that was roughly analogous to the HY80 of today. And then we have the armor plate, which is the STS plate, which is upwards of 120,000 psi tensile strength. It's some tough stuff, high nickel content. So they've been using 80 for a long time. I think they're still using it on submarine hulls. You know, it's a really stout material. It's very weldable. Of course, the techniques of today's is a little bit different. They were just really getting into welding when they built this ship and the Sullivans. Well, still a lot of rivet construction even on this. In fact, we have what we believe to be a dissimilar metal problem with some of the rivets on this ship.
So what are your building a frigate, of course, probably same structure. I mean, what are your thoughts on what you see going on and based on your experience? I mean, you started you said 78?
Correct.
So you were installing disco balls on the frigates at that time.
Oh yeah, we were getting down with the BGs. But, you know, it's really, I think with all these issues we're talking about with the ship sinking and all that, it really comes down to maintenance. And if you don't take care of it, it doesn't matter. Like old cars, anything like that, old aircraft. If you just let it sit there, and it's going to conk out over time. You know, you got to work on it, work with it. You know, and that's what we're doing here on the Iowa to keep that from happening.
So can I ask you? You know, I haven't looked in the parking lot lately, so I don't really know what you're driving these days because.
It's not out there. I was looking. You know about old cars, don't you?
The green machine.
I was curious if you know, now that you bring up 78 to the shipyard, were you driving that car in 78 to the shipyard?
Actually, that one and my other car that I'm getting ready to bring, my 70 Dodge Challenger.
Really?
Yes.
So shout out to Ernie Reese, one of my shipmates, who's a hardcore Mopar guy who's listening to the podcast.
Bill Maggio too. Bill's a hardcore guy, good friend of ours.
So you know, George, you have been one of the a great crew member involved in the family for a while. You're really outspoken. So, you know, when you don't like something, you tell everybody. You're one of those guys. And so we all know. But, you know, tell us what you think from the maintenance side. Tell us where, you know, why you got involved, how you got involved, what you've seen kind of transition here. What do you believe is going right, wrong, and what it means to you?
I think we're doing really well. I mean, I chose this. It's a family thing. My grandfather, on my father's side, my dad, we're all shipbuilders here in San Pedro. And I never dreamed that I'd be working on a battleship. You know, I worked on the Missouri and the New Jersey back in the 80s at Long Beach. But didn't think I'd ever end up here. But it's funny, life takes you step by step towards your goal. And I choose this. I love my job here.
I remember hiring you. You applied. I think we talked on the phone. Didn't we? And then we found out we knew somebody, Bill Maggio, who's one of my mentors in the industry over on Terminal Island. I think you're over at Southwest or Al Larson, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all of them.
Where were you? I mean, why did you even apply for this job? I mean, like you said, your goal. What is your goal? I mean, I've never asked. I've never really gotten to know you other than the guy that plays the guitar, and I like talking to you. And you know.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I'm a ship guy, you know, and it's been my life. I love it. I've been away from it just for like a few months at a time throughout my career, and I've drawn back to it. You know, it gets under your skin, and this ship definitely gets under your skin.
Why are you a ship guy? What is it about the ship? I mean, obviously, do you like just getting electrocuted? I mean, is there
hair standing up on end? You just like,
you know, I think really on a selfish note, I think it's because it's something I do well, and so you feel a reward. You could see you put your efforts and you get a positive response. Like the dog gets his little biscuit if he does the trick right.
Yeah.
Well, I see the ship lasting for a long time, or something that I built 20 years ago still working fine. I say, you know what? I did that right. You know, and it makes you feel good about yourself.
Is that why you work on cars too?
No, I just like them.
But it has meaning to you. I mean,
yes.
It's got a deep meaning to you. So
definitely.
So, you know, George, you came here. You were here, what, 5 years, 6 years, for a little while?
7 years.
We opened, 7.
Yeah.
When we first opened, and then what did you decide to do?
Well, I got recruited to go.
No, you got fed up. Let's face it, you got fed up with us. But no, let's go ahead.
Well, no, I actually had my kids were at the age where I've got 5 kids and a wife. That you know, I'm the breadwinner, and so I they were starting to go to college, and so I needed more than I could get here at the Iowa, and I got recruited by Lockheed to do wiring harness on some of their special access programs. And so I did that for about 3.5 years, and my kids either finished their schooling or fell away from schooling, and I found that I had more time on my hands, and I didn't want to spend my life doing something I didn't want. You know, I mean, I liked what I was doing, but the shipbuilding is who I am, and I chose to come back.
And so you're only here for the shipbuilding, you're not here for the people.
The ship's
well, you know, I'm a people person. That's a big part of it too.
See, that's why we're digging into you, because on the podcast you're just talking about the ship, but really at the end of the day, this has something much deeper meaning to you.
I think I'm actually the cheerleader here of the ship myself.
Are you?
You know, I look at my crew and the people around me, different departments, and if I see them dragging, I try to pick them up. You know, and nothing ever heavy. We try to keep it light, and you know, I've got a smile for everybody.
He was trying to get me to smile coming up the brow this morning. I was sucking on lemons coming up the brow this morning.
So we need to remember, Mike, when we start implementing uniforms, he is the cheerleader, so we need to make sure we implement the right uniform.
Nice skirt.
I was going to say pleated skirt. I think that'd look okay on you.
Well, I mean,
Cool
it's perfectly okay to have, you know, we could go with, what is it, Lululemon?
Sure.
You know,
We'll go with yoga pants.
I was going to say, those are terribly sexist comments. There are male cheerleaders out there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think they're called
made
yell
one of
leaders.
those
Yeah.
comments, but
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like we could take that direction and really be modernizing our operations team and implement a uniform unlike that's seen. I mean, kind of like the Star Trek uniform.
No red shirts.
no, you can't have red
No
shirts.
red
Not
shirts.
in
We're going to have
ours.
little squares on our chest, Jonathan.
Yeah, little diamonds, and we can push it. And
yeah.
can you?
There you
Is
go.
it possible to
Like
link that
106.
into a walkie-talkie system?
Don't.
Can you
Oh
link
my
that
gosh,
button into a walkie-talkie system?
He crossed right over that, but I knew where you were going. That's a
I wasn't
throwback.
taking. I
still
wasn't
have
taking the
mine in my
bait.
drawer.
I was not taking the bait.
That's
I did
a-
not take the bait, and I didn't run for it. But
Yeah.
I'm really curious if those buttons can link to
You
a
know,
walkie-talkie system.
Your tech guy can link almost anything to anything else.
So can
you
I have
the
it?
best tech team?
Can I have a drone to
Who?
manage? Go office to office and manage a speaker and a microphone on
You
the
know,
drone?
if you give me a budget, I will give you a Predator drone. Absolutely.
That throws darts.
Absolutely. Whatever you want. man. Just give me the design criteria.
So, back on topic. Why is it me that's bringing us on topic today, and Kyle's supposed to keep us on topic?
Kyle's just
Kyle, you're not
failing
fully
today.
there today. What's going on?
Kyle has
No,
coffee.
There are times where when little kids are on a sugar high and they're running around, and you just need to let them tire themselves out before they come back to reality. And so
You just let us do that, right?
it's the easiest path forward sometimes. Yeah.
There you go.
Coffee is for closers, Kyle.
I know he's had a little bit of coffee because I heard him slam his metal coffee cup down on the desk.
So it's only a little bit because he did slam that cup
That's
on
right.
the desk.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
I'll finish it off.
Kyle's learning about maintenance stuff too, though. I mean, we're writing up stuff right now with grants and everything. I was talking to you last night.
I am learning a fair amount about just the daily operation here, which is important for me because, as George mentioned, there's a lot of maintenance that is required on this ship. And so if I can talk about it better to somebody who can fund a need that we have,
Right.
it makes my job a whole lot easier. And so it's been really interesting to just pick up the basics even of what we're trying to do here, because from the money side of things, most people that are familiar with nonprofits do not take into account the daily, I guess, maintenance when they ask about what it takes to fund your organization. So here, more than just about half of our expense budget is just on making sure that our foundation is solid and we could do our jobs in the first place. That's our starting point. So if we can't get there, we have nothing else to really focus our efforts on.
That's a perfect description too. And so Georgia doesn't know that we've been working on a grant for electrical improvements. We're either isolating or basically cutting out of the system some of those transformers down below that cause that power factor problem. So that's what we were working on yesterday. And I rarely have the time to even tell you sometimes what I'm doing or what we're doing, but trust me, we're always thinking about it.
So let me ask you, George, what has this journey been for you? What is it, being here? What has it been? I know you've had ups and downs. You play the guitar in front of the crew and they love it. And I've been trying to convince Moran to get with you to play our opening song for this podcast. We want you to
need an
record the
opening
opening
jingle.
song for this podcast because it's we want to be real. But what is this journey? What has it been for you? What does it mean for you?
Well, it means a lot. It's honoring the past, our history as a country, as far as our military is a big part of the United States, and it's important because without it, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we have. And it's formed my life. My father and my grandfather always talked about what the ships were, the famous ones that they worked on. And I feel like I'm just carrying on a tradition. And being here, if it wasn't a positive experience, if I didn't think it was worthwhile, we have a great crew. We have a great ship. I'm proud of all of it, and I feel like I'm right where I have to be. So it's been a great voyage. I've seen all the things that I've done before in my life have built up to this point. It's just like we're at this crescendo right now.
Crescendo.
You've got a couple generations of shipbuilders in your family, right? I got a couple generations of Navy in my family. And I think you and I are in a similar place where when I was a kid, I was asked, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a daddy. Well, what do daddies do? Daddies work on ships. Well, now here you are, what do daddies do? Daddies build ships, and you're back here building the next phase of what we're doing here. I think that's pretty cool.
And then you could be a sea daddy too, which is a term. No, seriously, that's a real thing.
Pejorative. That is not a pejorative. Sea lawyer is a pejorative.
It's an important thing to be too.
Right.
It's passing it on to the next generation.
There you go.
I think it's cool to have really strong maritime experience here. I really think that's important because sadly I see other institutions that don't have the benefit of that. And right now, your shipbuilding experience, Chief Moser is a hull technician, chief retired. We have Bill Maggio out there. There's just a ton of real solid experience here, and it's really valuable. Yeah.
Well, we need to make sure we don't lose it and we pass it on to the next generation. And so, have you had a growing journey here, a personal growth, not just, we all talk about really the high level stuff and what this means to us, but, I'll throw it right out there for growth. Every day I've got something that I'm attacking. Most people don't know that, but I'm attacking every day. Anybody that looks at my calendar sees some of the stuff I'm attacking if I give them access to my full calendar. Right now, I'm tackling fear of rejection. I know that sounds really weird coming from a guy like me that seems to ask for everything, but I'm actually tackling fear of rejection because I'm afraid to ask for things. And most people don't know that. But every month, I'm tackling some issue, trying to tackle myself and grow and become much more. So what would you say would be the top 2 or 3 issues that you've tackled over the past 7 or 10 years here to help you grow and become a better person?
I think so. A lot of it has to do with having the confidence in yourself to stand up and say, hey, I believe this to be so, even if people don't always agree with you, and so I have that fear of rejection as well. And but it comes down to low self-esteem, which is what I've been working on over the past several years to overcome.
Yeah.
And because, if you don't believe in yourself, you don't have anything that's like the foundation we're talking about. You need that first foundation of yourself before you could grow and do anything right, as far as I'm concerned.
So do you think that supportive environment around here has really kind of helped you build that self-esteem, to have that, you have a work family, you have a home family, and it really gives you that supportive system?
Yes, it's definitely helpful. And I mean, we kid each other, and, it's not always, kisses and roses, but actually we have a lot of fun. This crew, it works well. People will point out, they'll call you out if they see you getting off your path a little bit.
But they don't really call you out in a mean way either.
Well,
and teasing isn't mean teasing. It's just
kidding,
kidding around and all that. So it's
depends who it's coming from.
I was going to say, I don't know what kind of teasing you've got.
Why?
I was just thinking about what I was getting from the boss here before we started the podcast. It seemed pretty hostile.
Saying in general.
I wasn't hostile.
It's all good.
I was passing information.
I'm not rejecting you.
Oh, I didn't feel rejected on that. See, I'm just trying to overcome the fear of rejection where I actually can ask for something. I used to be afraid. Most people don't know this is really weird, and I've gotten over a lot of it and still fighting it every day. I can't believe I'm saying this to the world, but I do say all this stuff to the world, and I don't care anymore.
Good.
I had a hard time picking up the phone and calling somebody. I couldn't even call a retail store. I was too afraid of the rejection when somebody answered the phone at a retail store. So I would sit at my desk, and when I had to, as weird as it was, when I had to call somebody, it was like overcoming and shaking and being scared calling somebody.
I had that too.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Now I'm like just calling everybody under the sun, and I don't really care, and I think they're fed up with me at this point, but I really don't care anymore, but whatever. But I mean, it's a real problem. I think I noticed what was happening was my first reaction to something was based on my fear of rejection. It was always a defensive reaction. So I think we're all kind of taking on those issues, and I don't know where I'm going with this whole thing, but I think we're all taking on those issues. And what I really want to highlight as we go through these podcasts, as we have each one, is kind of what we've done, how we've as people grown, which has helped an organization grow, which has helped a ship environment grow,
Which has helped the people grow.
Yeah,
It's
which has helped the people
it
grow.
is a circular thing. So I remember when you first came on board, there was very much sort of a shipyard mentality in the ops team, and actually across the board. And there was a lot of us versus them. Have you seen that change over the years, or
Oh, yeah,
are we still
definitely.
working on that?
Well, there's still a little bit of that, but I think mostly at that time there was a lot to do. The ship was like a junkyard car. Everything, we were in the process of rebuilding, putting stuff back together, putting it to make it look like it's supposed to look, the way the ship should look when it's in service. And that's kind of our goal, is to make it look like a living, breathing, active ship.
It's
And,
tough though. I mean, we've got plywood on the decks, and one of the reasons we have plywood on the decks is, people ask all the time, why haven't you fixed the deck? And it's like, because we're taking care of the hull. The deck can look as pretty as it can. If the ship sinks, it doesn't help us.
Well,
So-
I got tackled on that. God, you saw the email I
Yeah.
wrote back.
Yeah.
We got tackled on that, and occasionally do. And I even talked about it on KTLA yesterday. And the way I put it is, look, we, in lack of better words, worrying about the deck is throwing lipstick on the pig. We rather make sure the pig lasts a lifetime.
Yep.
Right. And so, for lack of better words, the whole preservation, we could work on the deck where we're sitting the rest of our lives. We could replace steel where we're sitting the rest of our lives. And trust me, if there's a listener on this podcast show, I'm throwing it out there, $8.5 million. I'm asking you, you sitting in front of your computer right now that's listening to this podcast, write us a check for $8.5 million. And we will move George from electrical for 2 years to oversee the teak decks if you send that $8.5 million in right now. That's the plea.
Can I
that
send
work?
that $8.5 million somewhere
Operators
else?
are standing by.
Operators are standing by. Kyle is prepared. He is 877-446-9261, extension 747. He will be taking your $8.5 million donation on the American Express to begin the wood deck project, which will initiate immediately upon your commitment. And so we'll get going to make sure that lipstick looks good. But in the meantime,
That was a really good ask.
see,
That was a very
that was
good ask.
over my fear of
He hasn't-
rejection.
He hasn't
Yes.
seen the rejection yet, but
I haven't gotten the rejection. There's no rejection.
Wait till we see the comments on this.
Yeah, well, I may get rejected through the. Hey, if you reject me, I'm happy to be rejected because I'm working on this rejection these days. In fact, one of our next guests that we'll be talking to will talk about my rejection just the past couple days. So, by the way, I think we are filming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for our guests, you have been on camera this whole time. So when you picked your nose, everybody in the audience saw that.
We depend on Marianne to fix that in post.
Are we able to
Little black dot.
Is
It'll
it a
be
little
fine.
black dot or is
The
it a little
little
fuzz
George will
like
just
that?
It's
dis-
the little pixelation.
Yeah,
out
George will
there,
just
yeah.
disappear for a
Yeah,
moment.
see-
It'll be fine.
George just realized the camera was there.
Yeah,
Surprise!
It's all good. So,
It's all right. Editing is all about editing.
look good in post.
Look good in
right?
post.
There you go.
But do we have any more questions for George? Because I think we can close this out.
I want to hear
sing.
George play something, man.
Yeah.
We got a
Do
few
you have your
minutes
guitar,
left.
George?
Yeah,
He's got
heck
his
yeah.
guitar.
George, you got it.
wanna
We're
play
gonna bring
something?
George
All right.
onto the sound.
This is what happens.
Careful that
So
headset
we
there.
have a tradition here of doing lunches on weekends and feeding people. And one of the things that I missed the most when George was off playing at Lockheed was this was the lunchtime entertainment, man.
Yeah.
George, what was the one funny thing we did, the Jackson Brown thing?
Oh yeah,
that was hilarious.
The extender. We were building the museum, and we needed some little stud extenders to build the display. And he's like, "Say a prayer for the extender," which is a song, "The Pretender" by Jackson Brown. We must have laughed about 2 hours about that.
We're easy to entertain.
Yeah, that picks up pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. I'm a better electrician than a singer.
Hey, so before we close it out, I want to give a shout out to the audience. If you have a suggested name for our currently nameless podcast, or you have comments, you can send them to podcast@labattleship.com. That's podcast@labattleship.com. And for the record, the tech guy did not pick that domain because the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, La Battleship. And they're like, no, that's not what it is. It's Los Angeles Battleship. I'm like, dude, if I saw La Battleship, so did everybody else. Anyway, now you'll never forget it. Podcast@labattleship.com.
Which is why we fly French bunting.
There you go. Right?
There's a story behind that.
That is a whole other podcast right there.
But thank you, George. Thank you for joining us today. And overcoming my fear of rejection again, I got one ask for you. Will you write
$8.5 million?
Yeah, you got 8.5 million. Play the lottery. No. Will you consider writing an opening song for us for this podcast? What is it? About 30 seconds? 20,
No,
30
not
seconds?
even that.
Not even that. We need like
15,
a
20 seconds.
15-second
Definitely.
bumper.
So do you want words and music or just music?
Yeah,
Whatever,
words.
just make it up.
You can
Okay,
make it
we
up
could do
and be
that,
like,
yeah.
we're, the Funky Bunch, or,
we'll do
the
that.
Iowa the
We
Misfit
could do
Toys, or, just have a little fun with it.
Okay.
A 15-second bumper.
We are kind of the island of misfit toys.
That's for sure.
We are. I mean, make a song that's really kind of what you think this place is, and eclectic and interesting and funky and fun.
But you can't use all of those words if you're thinking about what we actually are, because some of those can't be broadcast.
Tequila.
There you go.
So closing out, thank you, George.
Thanks,
Thank
George.
you
Thanks,
to our
George.
audience. Keep downloading 1,000 plus downloads right now, and we truly appreciate your support. And if there is that member of the audience that wants to write $8.5 million, Kyle will be sitting by his phone all day long. We're not going to allow him to do anything other than answer your call. He
Not
will
doing
be
anything
awaiting
anyway.
your call. So yeah. Facebook. You're on Facebook.
Yeah.
So many comments.
Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
None of them appropriate.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you to our
you.
audience, and we'll get ready for our next episode, which, as David said, La Battleship. So we'll be talking about La Fleet Week. Thank you so much.
Well done.